Apologies for the late start, guys. I was just getting some things together here. I want to give a special thanks to Joe Williams and Maria Vidmar. I think I pronounced that correctly. Thank you so much for the donations. I just went to the P.O. box and picked them up. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks to everybody else that supports my work. You guys are amazing. You guys are helping to keep this channel afloat. So God bless all of you. God bless everybody for tuning in. Please, please, please give this a thumbs up. If you're watching it live or you're going to watch it later, please just give it a thumbs up so more people can see it. I appreciate it. God bless you. Now, I'm not going to get into any small talk. We're just going to jump right in. Normally I talk about gas prices and all that stuff. Nope, we're getting right to it because this is crazy. This is insane. I can't say I'm totally surprised, and if you've been paying attention, you're not surprised either. But yes, within the last hour, there was a shooting at George Floyd Square, which is where a bunch of people will be gathering today. They're already there. There's a bunch of media there. They've got live performances scheduled. I mean, the whole 9 yards. You would think it's just one huge block party, except for the fact that like 30 gunshots rang out in broad daylight, on camera. You can't make it up. Let's watch it together. It's crazy.
This bill of comprehensive police reform just got to be careful here with some gunshots. Excuse us, excuse us. It sounds like gunshots. I'll let you know what this is. These seem to be gunshots.
Broad daylight in George Floyd Square. Literally, shit. George Floyd Square.
Shit, where is that?
Bro.
Okay, we're okay. We're just gonna go. This bill of comprehensive police reform.
Pause this thing. Hold on. I mean, what are we doing here? Are you kidding me? This is the backdrop. This is the backdrop of we need to reform the police. We need to defund the police. We need an autonomous zone with no police. You can't make this stuff up. Hollywood couldn't script this. Hollywood could not script this. On the 1 year anniversary, and make no mistake, this is not the first shooting in George Floyd Square. There have been people actually murdered there since his death. There have been at least 2, if not 3 incidents just this year, actually, where people were shot, stabbed. I went there one time last year just to document it, just to see everything, because I used to live there. If you're new, I used to live in Minneapolis. I lived there for 5 years, so I'm very familiar with that part of town. It's never been the greatest, but now it's a war zone. It's an autonomous zone that they wanted, no police. They have concrete barriers blocking the street. Law enforcement can't go in there. And now people are just going to gather tonight. Like, this is fine. It's all good. I don't know how the media is going to spin this, because this is ridiculous. This is the most dangerous situation you can put people in while they're coming together supposedly to celebrate life. Now, one person was shot. The story is just breaking, so there's a lot of information I don't know. There's a lot of information nobody really knows because they're gathering it up, but there's only so much information you need, because you could see that somebody was shot, that there were 30 shots fired, as this dude is live talking about everything that just happened. George Floyd, this is the 1 year we're going to celebrate his life at an area where people are getting killed and shot. It's not safe. And there's going to be live performances. I mean, guys, what the hell's going on? What is going on in our world where this is the main story of the day? The main story of the day is this is the anniversary of George Floyd's death. It was tragic. Police brutality is a problem in America. The biggest threat, apparently, the biggest threat a black man will ever face is white people and cops trying to hunt them down. As LeBron James said, we're literally hunted down every day. But in the backdrop of a live stream, a live recording, news outlet is out there on the scene. The guy sounds British. I don't know where he's from. Doesn't really matter. 30 shots rang out, and they're just going to act like, oh, this is nothing. This is nothing. We still got to worry about the police. We're not going to address the elephant in the room, that less cops equals more crime. It's a criminal empowerment zone when you don't have the police. I mean, of course, there's problems with law enforcement. I'm always talking about that. But to defund, to just completely overcorrect for it, you're seeing the results right here. I've watched so many news stories about business owners that are struggling right there in George Floyd Square. It's not safe. It's got a gang patrolling it. There's a shooting probably at least weekly over there. I'm sure the news has to suppress it because they have to cover other stories. But this is an area of Minneapolis that is just absolutely unsafe. I mean, if you're just tuning in and you haven't seen this, let's watch it again.
This bill of comprehensive police reform just got to be careful here with some gunshots. Excuse us.
There's a guy just standing there. What is this guy doing? Look at this guy walking.
It sounds like gunshots. I'll let you know what this is. These seem to be gunshots.
Mostly peaceful, somebody said in the comments. Yeah, it sounds mostly peaceful. I just pray for anybody that's anybody I know in Minneapolis is planning on going to this celebration of life, as they call it.
We're okay.
Man. Unreal.
We're just gonna go.
Unreal. So yeah, that's what's going on in Minneapolis today. A shooting in George Floyd Square. And I believe there's multiple camera angles of it. There was another news outlet that was live reporting during the shooting as it happened. But this is how insane our world has gotten right now. This is how insane the world is. People are concerned about police brutality while ignoring the elephant in the room, the majority of crime. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to address the real problem, that the biggest threat to a black person is another black person. That is a fact. People don't want to talk about it. I'll get called names because it's inconvenient, not allowed to notice it. And if you notice it, you're definitely not allowed to say it out loud, but I'm going to say it out loud anyway. That this is all just a joke. This is a joke. It's hilarious that they're even doing this. So you got all the grifters, you got all of the usual suspects that are going to be in Minneapolis. They've been there all weekend talking about justice. They're knelt on the neck of justice and blah, blah, blah. When you had over the weekend, just in Minneapolis, you had a mass shooting, 10 people shot downtown, 2 killed. You had 4 killed across the entire city. But let's talk about police brutality and how we're going to pass this landmark bill and George Floyd's name will be synonymous with justice. Check this out. Check this out, guys.
Sometimes it takes the death of some to lead to change. Well, I'm telling you, all over this country, policing is going to change, because all we could think about is the knee on the neck of George Floyd for 9 minutes and 29 seconds.
The Reverend Al Sharpton addressing a crowd of around 200 outside the Hennepin County Government Center ahead of the 1-year anniversary of George Floyd's death.
When you went down on his neck, you broke the neck of police misconduct in this country, because we're going to stay in the streets and stay in the suites until we bring to law the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act.
Hold up. Did he say stay in the streets and stay in the suites? I guess he's referring to himself staying at a hotel suite, flying in on a private jet. See, anytime you see Al Sharpton show up, you know that it fits the narrative because he's able to cash in and get rich. He's been grifting for years. And look who's standing behind him. Look who's right there behind him. Benjamin Crump, the ambulance chaser. This guy right here likes to chase ambulances. He only cares about a black life if it can make him rich, right? Why doesn't he go to the north side of the city where 3 black children were shot in the last week and a half? Shot in the head, all 3 of them. One of the little girls didn't make it. This little girl right here. Where's the picture at? This girl right here. Anaya Allen, 6 years old. She got taken off a ventilator, passed away, shot in the head. Nobody cares. You don't hear Al Sharpton talking about it. You don't hear Benjamin Crump. You got thousands of people that are going to march in Minneapolis today, Chicago, LA, Atlanta, Philly. They're going to march all over the place for George Floyd, and his killer has already been arrested. George Floyd got his justice, but this little girl, they haven't even arrested her killer. There's no leads. No leads. They haven't arrested her. In fact, they've got an entire reward. There's a reward leading to the arrest of this little girl's killer.
The stakes have been raised to find who shot 3 young children in Minneapolis. 10-year-old LaDavion Garrett Jr., 9-year-old Trinity Smith, and 6-year-old Anaya Allen were each shot in the head during separate drive-by shooting incidents in the last 2 weeks.
3 children under the age of 10 shot in the head in the last 2 weeks in Minneapolis, while simultaneously you've got all these people protesting. We remember you, George Floyd. Thank you for dying, Nancy Pelosi. Thank you so much. Thank you, because it led to Democrat power grabs. It allowed us to continue demonizing the country, making white and black people hate each other. Thank you so much. Your death was so expedient to our power grabs, to our fundraising efforts, to our propaganda. Thank you so much. But these little kids, Nancy Pelosi, not available for comment. People can march for justice and change, but can't come together to find the killer of at least one of the girls. The other 2 kids are in the hospital fighting for their lives. But Anaya Allen was killed. She succumbed to her gunshot wound to her head. These kids were all shot in the head. So a reward. They have to throw out rewards so that a killer comes forward. And people in the hood, people know who shot these kids. But because of the stupid no snitching street code, nobody's come forward.
Today, the city, businesses, and community leaders announced a $30,000 reward to find and arrest the people responsible. The children's families told our Mariel Mose the incentive gives them hope for answers.
About 100 people marched to North Memorial Hospital Sunday afternoon, where a 10-year-old boy and 9-year-old girl are fighting for their lives.
If our babies don't get in, shut it down!
This group is demanding justice. To them, that means an arrest.
Every day we wake up, it starts over again. The pain, the hurt, starts over and over again.
Rayshawn is 9-year-old Trinity's dad. He plans to march every day until his daughter comes home.
Our babies are not disposable.
Minneapolis Police Chief Madera Arredondo said Sunday that they need the public's help to make these arrests. And if you know something, you'll be rewarded. Up to $10,000 for an arrest in each case.
And I can't think of nothing wrong that I've done here.
KG Wilson has been an advocate for gun violence victims for decades in Minneapolis. And this week, he lost his 6-year-old granddaughter, Anaya, to gun violence.
I'm begging you, if you know something, yes, there's a reward out, but guess what? We shouldn't have to give no reward for somebody who shot babies.
We're going to stand together for as long as it takes.
They hope this persistence and reward will lead to justice and for Anaya's family, closure. In North Minneapolis.
I just want everybody watching to be clear about something, just so we're all on the same page. George Floyd got more justice than these three kids. George Floyd got more justice than these three kids because their deaths don't help bring down America. There's no ratings. There's no television ratings that can be boosted off of their shootings. There's no fundraising for Al Sharpton, no photo ops of him going in a private jet or him staying in a suite. They can't fan the flames. They can't get people in the streets to protest. You got a couple hundred people, obviously. God bless them for at least recognizing that this is a problem. But the rest of the people out there, there's not going to be any big marketing campaign. There's going to be no social media, none of that. No post about it because they don't care. They don't care about Black lives. They care about Black deaths. If your Black death matters because they can grift, power grab, ascend to power, people like Nancy Pelosi will thank you for dying. George Floyd getting his family getting invited to the White House, so Joe Biden would invite their family to the White House. Her funeral would be televised if she were shot by a white person. This little girl right here that you're looking at, Anaya Allen, if her killer were a white person, her funeral would be on television. She would be buried in a gold casket, something that Martin Luther King didn't even get. Martin Luther King wasn't even buried in a gold casket. There would be murals of her all over the city if her killer were the right skin color and preferably a law enforcement officer. That is a fact. So all the people I know that grift, virtue signal, people that are in the streets, they're just worried so much about police brutality, but can't keep the same energy when little kids are getting shot in the same damn city. And as a result of defund the police, demoralize the police, hate the police, 200 officers resigned in Minneapolis. So they've made 200 fewer arrests this year. They've taken 146 fewer guns off the street. Homicides are up, as at least before last weekend's shootings. They were up 106% from last year. 106%. They've doubled their number of homicides from this time last year. So they're on pace to be Murderapolis all over again. And for what? Because defund the police? Because police brutality? Systemic racism? Black lives don't matter. Black deaths do. So they don't care. They don't care. You're not going to hear anybody talk about this. You're not going to hear Maxine Waters, Sean King, your usual race grifters. You're not going to hear any of them talk about it because it doesn't fit their narrative. So therefore, the little girl doesn't care. But let's invite George Floyd, his family, George Floyd's family. Let's invite them to the White House and let's craft a bill about restructuring the police and law enforcement. Let's put his name in it so it's synonymous with justice. But little kids who had their whole lives ahead of them, didn't break any laws, just getting hit by stray bullets. And it's not just Minneapolis. It's not just Minneapolis. It's Chicago. I got a list of shootings just over the past weekend. Chicago, 42 shot, 8 killed, including an elderly woman who was watering her lawn. 10 shot in Minneapolis over the weekend. Mass shooting downtown. Nobody talks about it. Memphis, 1-year-old girl shot. Indianapolis, 12-year-old shot. Cleveland, 15-year-old shot. Jacksonville, Florida, 3 teenagers shot. Columbus, Ohio, 5 shot, 1 dead. 1 teen dead, 5 shot, but 1 teenager dead. And then, of course, across the pond, you had a BLM activist shot in the head by a black person, but they won't say that in the headline. They won't talk about it in the title because it doesn't fit the narrative. And it's bad optics. It's a bad look when the ongoing narrative is a big fat lie that black people need to fear for their lives when they leave their house. They need to be afraid because a white person might just come out of nowhere and just hunt them down. But let's completely ignore black on black crime. Matter of fact, you're not even allowed to talk about it. You ain't black if you don't talk about it. Or if you do talk about it, you ain't black. You ain't down. unless you talk about police brutality. That needs to be the top priority. While we got shootings at George Floyd Square where they're supposed to celebrate his life. Celebration of life at a place where people are dying, and you can't even make it through the day of the anniversary without a shooting. But yeah. Let's continue talking about the police, guys. Let's continue talking about it. Clown world. Let me read some comments and then we'll move on. Because I just can't, man. I just can't. I don't know what to do anymore, you guys. This is just wild. This is wild. All I can do is continue, shining light on it. It's sad that, little kids will never see the justice that George Floyd did. And some of these other, criminals that were unfortunately living in the fast lane. It was a matter of time before they had some kind of interaction with the police. Not saying it's justified, but why does somebody who committed crimes, spent a lot of time in police custody dealing with the cops, why do they get more respect? Why are their names synonymous with justice? They get murals painted of them, but we don't care about the youth, the future. And not only that, as a black man, I'm expected to embrace the lowest common denominator. I'm supposed to see myself in these black criminals that get arrested. That's the way it is. Those are the ones that get promoted. Those are the ones that get talked about on TV. That's what they care about. But they'll demonize somebody like a Ben Carson, a Thomas Sowell. They'll call them Uncle Toms. They'll call them Oreos. They got some wonderful names for, successful, intelligent, articulate black people who don't break the law. Those people are not ever really talked about. Not in a positive way anyway. And I see I got a few super chats that came in. Thank you so much, Linda and Charles. Charles said, Mike speaking the truth about black on black crime, and we all know it. There's also the fact many of these young men lacked fathers in their lives. The family unit needs to be emphasized. That's so true. I mean, they never want to talk about that because they're too busy trying to destroy the nuclear family. They don't want people reproducing. They don't want you to procreate. It said it on the Black Lives Matter website until they got called out for it. And a lot of attention was put on it. Then they removed it from the website. But it said on their website, which a lot of people I know never even visited Black Lives Matter website, where they said on their website that one of their goals, one of their primary objectives was to dismantle the Western prescribed nuclear family structure. How many of these shooters, including probably that shooter today at George Floyd Square, grew up in fatherless homes? Is that not emphasized? It's not emphasized. It's emphasized. Fatherless homes, father absence, going back to Lyndon Baines Johnson's Great Society Act, where welfare was commonplace. You will get more money from the government if there's no man in the house. So all these problems, they don't actually care. They don't care about black lives. They don't care about black children. They don't want black children to be born. That's why they have a whole campaign about abortion being health care. Oprah wants you to shout your abortion. Shout your abortion. Let's make billboards about it. If it makes people rich, if it makes you poor, if it ruins your life, if it keeps you from achieving your potential, if it keeps you from connecting with God, they're all about it. You'll see it on TV. You'll hear it in the music. That's why I keep saying it's spiritual warfare. That's why they thank people for dying, making their sacrifice. Nancy Pelosi, so happy. Thank you, Kirby Floyd. Can't even get the name right. The jokes write themselves. So anyway, George Floyd getting invited, his family getting invited to the White House. As the nation honored the life of George Floyd with memorial events and marches, Floyd's family and supporters say they have been encouraged by the progress made in a year since he was killed by a Minneapolis police officer. I'm sorry. What progress was made? What progress was made other than an exorbitant amount of crime increased in these cities? Basically, every city where you have a lot of black people, there have been more murders. So as a result of his death, police have been defunded. Crime has gone up. More black people have lost their lives. And you're encouraged by the progress because they're demonizing the police more, which leads to more shootings like little Anaya Allen. And because there's less police, less law enforcement, less people to investigate and try to find her killer, he might kill someone again. That's justice. That's something you're encouraged by. Ignoring the elephant in the room, that the most dangerous threat to a black person is another black person. You're not allowed to say it out loud. I might get demonetized for saying it, even though everybody on planet Earth knows it's true. They just ignore it. Like, no, it's not. No. Bury our heads in the sand. Let's not focus on that inconvenient truth, Mike. You're being a Debbie Downer. This is too heavy and depressing to talk about the truth. When in reality, if we just talked about the truth, if we were able to acknowledge the problem, have a debate about it, have dialogue, we might be able to solve it. But no, that's not too expedient. Al Sharpton can't make any money off of that. He needs black people to suffer. Al Sharpton needs it. Just think about it. If there were no shootings at all, no instances of black men breaking the law, getting involved with the police, what would Al Sharpton do? What would he actually do? What money could he make? What business opportunities would be available to him? Would he be able to go shake down some corporation? Probably not. He needs black people to suffer because it's critical to his revenue stream. His revenue stream is directly tied to black pain and suffering. Just let that sink in. Just let that sink in. As people are going to march worldwide, at least nationwide, but probably worldwide, because they want to remind you, hey guys, look over here. Remember when George Floyd died? Remember that? Ignore all of the black death that you saw in your city increase in the last year, and white death too. More people have died since the death of George Floyd as a result of demonizing law enforcement, empowering criminals, making cities more unsafe than they already were, and that was already creeping up. The pandemic itself just accelerated it, just amplified it, you know. So this man's family gets to go to the White House, and they're going to, I guess, make some, they're signing some bill so that his name will be tied to it. They want you to never forget his name, but they don't even know the names of these kids that are getting shot in the same city. The same city, y'all. The exact same city. Jesus. You can't make it up. I wish this was just a lie. I wish this wasn't real. I wish this was not real. I wish I wasn't talking about this. I shouldn't have to talk about this, but you don't know. You know what? You don't really hear a lot of people actually bringing light to this. Plenty of people reached out. They're like, I didn't even know about this shooting, Mike. I didn't know that this little girl was shot in the head in Minneapolis, and they haven't found her killer yet. And there's a $10,000 reward because nobody has come forward thus far. Nobody's come forward. But let's march for justice that George Floyd got in the exact same city. And let's just completely ignore a shooting that occurred the same day as the anniversary of George Floyd in the place where it's supposedly a celebration of life. We're going to celebrate life, where more black people have died there since George Floyd's death than probably the previous 10 years combined, because it's now an autonomous zone. Jeez. Wow. I'm kind of speechless at this point, but I will move on here. I just want to read some comments. I just want to read a few comments. We'll move on because there's obviously other stuff happening. This is just the big story. This is what you're not going to hear a lot of even YouTubers talk about. They'll cover this shooting now because people are talking. But I've been watching what's happening in Minneapolis because I used to live there. I lived there for 5 years, and I've seen that city decline every single year since I left. Every single year. There's businesses that have rebuilt since the riots of last year. Some businesses have rebuilt, but they're not seeing nearly the traffic that they were before for obvious reasons between the COVID shutdowns and the lack of safety. People aren't just casually strolling, going shopping anymore. A lot of these businesses that were harmed were immigrant businesses. A lot of these businesses haven't been rebuilt. The precinct that they torched hasn't been rebuilt, and they probably won't because it'll just inflame more tensions, which is sad. But guess what they did do? Built a brand spanking new Planned Parenthood, brand new. Looks like a tech building in Silicon Valley. I saw it when I was there. I saw a bunch of destruction, and then when I went over to Uptown, I saw a brand new Planned Parenthood. And I remember the old Planned Parenthood when it was there. It was just an old, dingy old building. And now it's got beautiful glass windows. It looks like a nice new business. So they don't rebuild the police precinct, but they built a brand new Planned Parenthood, laid down some fresh sod, everything. I ain't making it up. Tao says, hi, Mike. After the Colonial Pipeline shut down and Biden's lack of response, you are right. We are headed into two separate Americas. I don't want to live in an America where we ignore the criminals. The vice president solicits bail money for rioters and looters, sending a message to you, the law-abiding citizen, that we don't care about making your city safer, your street safer. We don't care about prosecuting criminals. We care about our narrative. We care about our power grab, our fundraising. And they're sending a message to law enforcement like, don't bother arresting them because we're just going to let them out. We're going to let them out. We side with criminals. We're criminals ourselves. We'll side with all the criminals. We'll bail them out. We'll empower the mob. We'll corrupt the justice system. We'll pollute kids' heads with propaganda, garbage stuff, critical race theory. We'll ignore all the crime. We'll ignore anything that's inconvenient to our narrative. We'll keep you focused on January 6th instead of what's happening on May 25th, 2021. That's the message that they're sending. Yeah, comparing George Floyd's death to MLK. Like, oh yeah, Martin Luther King's death didn't have the impact that George Floyd's did. That was more important. It's a bigger story. Why? Because it was viral, because it was a video. Is that what he was referring to? Maybe that's what he was referring to. Or maybe, just maybe, he knew that all that money that was raised by BLM via Act Blue went right into his campaign coffers. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Do your own research and see where all that money BLM fundraised went. How much money did BLM put up to find Anaya Allen's killer? I'm guessing $0 since two dozen businesses in the Twin Cities have put their money together to try to bring this girl's evil, wicked killer to justice. They have to bribe people to come forward when they know who shot this little girl. It says not many people are going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. Again, all the shootings. Chicago, 42 shot over the weekend. 8 killed. 8 in our third largest city. And these are just cities that I just happen to look up. So Chicago, Minneapolis, Memphis, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Jacksonville, and Columbus. But we all know there's way more cities that are even worse than those. New Orleans, one of the worst cities for black on black crime. We don't get to talk about it though, guys. We have to talk about the like 20 black men that are killed by the police every year, roughly 20 on average. Even though the majority of them are justified, we still have to talk about it. Even if the girl, like in Columbus, the Kanaya Bryant, whatever her name was, even though she was running at another black girl and was about to stab her to death, the cop is wrong. He shouldn't have intervened. That's what's important. That's what the left is pushing. That's where the propaganda comes from. You'll get fired if you talk about it. You know, like I said, if your death brings down the country, makes us hate each other, you'll get a gold casket burial. You'll get televised funeral. You'll get all the news coverage. Your family might even get invited to the White House. The city that you died in will pay out $27 million to your family if you sacrifice your life for power grabs, for everybody else to cash in on. That's the name of the game. That's where we are in America. Yeah, so that's what's going on, guys. What else is in the news? What else is in the news here? Oh, this. You see this photo here, y'all? Let me move this over and make this full screen. You'll see this photo right here. Now, the faces are blurred out, but in this photo is the Michigan governor, Gretchen Whitmer. Adolf Whitmer, I call her. She hit the bar over the weekend. She was at the bar with a bunch of people, not socially distancing. And you know what? Michiganders are not allowed to do this. Only the governor is allowed to do this. They still have restrictions in place. The hypocrisy that the left will completely ignore. All the branch COVIDians out there, they don't care. Follow the science. Follow the science, you Trumper. But we're going to ignore the governor of Michigan straight up not following her own guidelines. Now, of course, you aren't surprised by this, right? You're like, oh, of course. Rules for thee, not for me. But come on. This isn't even the second time that she got busted. She traveled as she advised people in Michigan, don't travel to Florida. Don't go to Florida. It's not safe. She traveled to Florida. We still don't know how it got paid for, but she traveled by private jet to Florida. Early on in the pandemic, when she shut down all of the stores in Michigan, she forced Walmart to close certain sections of the store. You couldn't buy home improvement products. You could only go to the pharmacy, buy groceries or anything or stuff like that. She forced closed a bunch of businesses in her state, but she let her husband go boating. I mean, this is like the third time, but she apologized, guys, so it's okay. Gretchen Whitmer apologized for this photo, even though she told everybody else in Michigan that they couldn't be at a restaurant in a big group, not socially distanced, and that if they're eating, they have to be in a certain section designated for people eating because, you know, the virus spreads otherwise. You know, if you just let people eat wherever they are with the people they came with, the virus will spread. But if you have a designated area, then they're safe, you know, because science and everything. But she apologized, so it's all good, you know, because she really means it. Or she got caught. I'll let you guess which one you think is true. She apologized because she means it, or she apologized because she got caught. What do y'all think? I don't know. But all I know, she's a big, fat hypocrite, and she's not the only one. Gavin Newsom, hypocrite. Nancy Pelosi, who just fined a bunch of Republicans in Congress for not wearing a mask after they've been vaccinated. She wore a mask or didn't wear a mask way back last year when her city was shut down because she wanted to go to a hair salon. Maskless. And then when she got busted, she played the victim, of course, like someone spied on me, someone set me up, instead of acknowledging that she's just a wicked, sick person. She would never do that. So Nancy Pelosi, big fat hypocrite. Lori Lightfoot went out and got her hair did. The mayor of Austin flew down to Mexico when he told people in his city not to travel. Bill de Blasio went to a gym when people in his city couldn't go to the gym. Unbelievable. But at the same time, extremely believable. These people have told us who they are. They ripped the mask off. The veil's been lifted. They're not even trying anymore. The media does all the heavy lifting for them, to be honest. I mean, the media will cover it up. They'll tell you, look over here. Look over here, cats. We're shining the laser pointer at this wall. Look at what happened January 6th. That's what you need to focus on. What happened January 6th? Don't worry about this governor being a flat out hypocrite right in your face. That's not important. Don't worry about what's happening with Joe Biden. Don't worry about the fact that his son smoked crack, never did a day in jail, but how many people are in prison doing big numbers for crack? Everyday citizens doing big numbers for crack. But Joe Biden's son, who smoked crack, photographic evidence of him admitting it, one time saying he smoked Parmesan cheese because he thought it was crack. He's over there teaching and giving lectures at Tulane University. Two-tier justice system. Rules for thee, not for me. Joe Biden, his son, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, Bill de Blasio, Lori Lightfoot, they live by a different set of rules than you. And you can't forget Chris Cuomo in the media. I mean, come on, this guy. He broke quarantine, caught on camera, broke quarantine while he lied to you and told you that this is so dangerous. You guys need to stay home. But not him. You know, Cuomo, I could go on and on and on, but, you know, I'm preaching to the choir here because most people, y'all been paying attention. Y'all see what's going on. Y'all know all about it. Y'all know all about it. So, yeah. What else? I think I had something else in the title of this. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Rand Paul. Rand Paul got sent a package with some kind of mysterious white powder, and now the FBI is investigating it. Probably just for optics, just to make us think that they're actually doing something. They'll probably end up arresting more Trump supporters and insurrectionists over it. That's probably what will happen. But Rand Paul, I mean, that's what they've been doing. I mean, anybody that tells the truth, anybody that's honest, anybody that's authentic like Rand Paul, they're basically marked for death. I mean, his neighbor damn near killed him. And for what? Politics? So, yeah, Rand Paul gets the, let me pull up a picture here just because, you know, or not really a picture, but the story. I'll pull it up since I still have the screen shared. Yeah, where's it at? I don't know where it's at. This is after Rand Paul took Fauci to the woodshed about the masks, about the Wuhan lab. And now Fauci's flip-flopping, talking about, yeah, I think we should probably open up an investigation. Do you see how that happens? And as a result, Rand Paul gets, threats. People are coming after him, sending him mysterious white packages. Of course, Jack Dorsey, being the hypocrite he is, doesn't care about all the tweets that are thanking Rand Paul's neighbor. People said they want to buy his neighbor a beer. Thank you for assaulting my political opponents. Thank you for beating him within an inch of his life, cracking his ribs. Thank you so much for this. Ridiculous, y'all. I can't find the story of this because, Twitter is kind of stupid, but yeah, this is all because Rand Paul told the truth, called out Fauci. And, it's okay to, threaten his life on social media because he's one of those evil Republicans. Just like with shootings, just like with, Black Lives Matter, it only matters if it fits the narrative. Violence, threats, incitement on Twitter doesn't matter if you're threatening and inciting violence against Republicans. Duh. You can do that. It's okay. It's okay to incite violence against Republicans. It's okay because they're Republicans. They're evil. So they deserve it. They had it coming because they're Trumpers. They don't follow the science. So it's okay to applaud the man who attacked Rand Paul. It's okay for this singer whose name slips my mind right now to call for Rand Paul to get attacked or whatever. Just incite violence against him. Just inflame the rhetoric towards Rand Paul and any Republican. Anybody who doesn't agree or toe the line of the left, they are on the chopping block. You have a target on your back. Just think about that. The people who tell the truth have targets on their back. The people who try to bring us together get assassinated, get attacked. Martin Luther King, assassinated. Malcolm X, told the truth, assassinated. People like me get called names. God's watching over me. But man, who's a bigger threat to me right now? Is it some white person? Is it a cop that's just going to be like, I think I'm going to go kill a black dude today. I just feel it. I'm going to go find somebody black and just kill him. Is that a bigger threat to me? Or if I were standing at George Floyd Square today, would that be a more dangerous place for me, for any black person? Where's the bigger threat to black people existing right now? Where's it at? If it's in these white areas, if it's where the white people are, if that's where black people are, at risk of dying, then why does LeBron James live in a rich white area? Oprah, the Obamas, Patrisse Cullors, the trained Marxist Patrisse Cullors. Why are they living in white areas? Why doesn't LeBron move back to Akron, Ohio, his hometown? Oh, is it because shootings are up in his hometown? Some teenager just got shot and killed on a public bus just last week in LeBron's town. He's literally hunted every day. He's afraid of white people. So LeBron James should just move to Akron, Ohio. I think the Obamas, since Michelle is so concerned about her two daughters getting pulled over by the police, maybe Michelle and Barack should move back to Chicago. Maybe they should move to South Side Chicago. Maybe, if white people are hunting you down, maybe you should move to where there's nothing but black people. Anyways, guys, I think I've said everything. I have said everything. Let me read a few comments and then I'll just wrap up. And I appreciate everybody watching right now. Please give it a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs up. The reason I started this stream today is because of the shooting that took place at George Floyd Square. If you haven't seen it yet, because I see some people just tuned in, we'll pull it up right now so you can see it again. You can see how crazy our world is. They don't want you to notice what's happening right in front of you. A shooting took place right in George Floyd Square.
Just got to be careful here with some gunshots. Excuse us. It sounds like gunshots. I'll let you know what this is.
It sounds like gunshots. It could be popcorn popping. Thousands of people are going to gather in this spot today.
Shit, where is that?
Yeah. Thousands of people are going to gather today in Minneapolis in this spot and pretend like that shooting didn't just happen. And pretend like the real threat is the Minneapolis Police Department. That's what they're going to do. They're going to gather and pretend like there wasn't just a shooting. There's going to be a concert, a big celebration, celebrating the life of George Floyd, while 3 kids were shot. 2 of them remain in the hospital, may not survive. 1 died last week. None of the killers arrested, but George Floyd's name is synonymous with justice And his family is proud, and they're encouraged by the progress that's been made to demonize the police, defund them, demoralize them. And Black people are dying. Little kids are getting shot as a result of all of this. Just adding fuel to the fire that already existed. And you know, the resident of the United States is having George Floyd's family at the White House for a nice big photo op to keep that in the front of your mind, to remind you that George Floyd died and his death is synonymous with justice. No mention of the little kid shot. David Dorn's family won't be getting an invite to the White House. I guarantee you that. None of the other Black people that were shot or killed during the riots last year, he doesn't know their name. He doesn't care because they didn't help get him where he is right now. So, yeah. Let's read a few comments and then wrap it on up. I'll put the comments on the screen this time if I can move this screen over. Hang on. I'm just going to put them on the screen. Somebody said, this is crazy. This is disgusting. Excellent job, Mike. Thank you so much. Just found your channel. Glad I did. Please make sure you give it a thumbs up so more people see it. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell notification so you don't miss any live streams. Trump rallies will be coming back. I know that this weekend down in West Palm somewhere, Jupiter maybe, for Memorial Day, there's going to be a giant boat parade. So I'll be there covering that live with Right Side Broadcasting. Make sure you tune in for that. Also, download the RSBN app. We're no longer just totally relying on YouTube. We're still going to use YouTube as long as we can until they kick us off. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but until they do, we'll still use that as a platform to reach people, but we no longer are totally dependent on them. We're on the Roku app. We're in the Google Play Store, the App Store. Download the app or pull it up on your Roku. And I think there's a couple other places you can find the app. Someone said, thanks, Mike, for having a good mind and using it. I mean, God put me here for a reason. If I'm just going to ignore what's actually happening, ignore the elephant in the room, my gosh, what's the point? What's the point if I'm just going to push the Marxist agenda? You know, like Patrisse Cullors, trained Marxists. She was proud that somebody compared her book to Mao's Little Red Book. Again, you can't make any of this up, guys. You can't make it up. We're living in a Hollywood dystopian film. Protect the children for sure. Yeah, protect the children. Are children even allowed to be born? Remember, guys, abortion is health care. Health care. That's why a brand new Planned Parenthood gets built in Minneapolis, but the police precinct that they torched last year doesn't get rebuilt. The immigrant business gonna get looted. Or there's a shooting outside of the immigrant business because there's no longer police patrolling it. So their business is technically open, but how much money are they making versus how much rent they have to pay, how many taxes they have to pay to the city that then mishandles their tax money, doesn't hire enough law enforcement to find the killer of Anaya Allen. The cycle continues. But hey, we're making progress, right? Because Democrats have power. So they feel pretty optimistic. And the media, of course, will paint a nice rosy picture of Biden's residency as he's building back better. Love it, right? Someone said, thank you, Mike, for keeping us. I can't read that word. I don't know. Keeping, I'm guessing you meant updated. Updated on the events taking place all over. Absolute madness. Why can't 50,000 Trump supporters storm the autonomous zones? Honestly, why would you? Why would you? Why be anywhere near it? There's no point. Why go anywhere near an autonomous zone? Go anywhere near one of these cities? For one, you're not welcome there. If you're a patriot, if you love the country, if you fly the American flag, That's a political statement. On top of that, the autonomous zones aren't safe, you know, even though they're designed to keep the police out, crime goes up. Funny how that works, right? Funny how that works. Crime goes up when police demoralization goes up. When 200 law enforcement officers leave the force in that city and they can't arrest or march for justice for a little 6-year-old girl who was put on a ventilator and just lost her life. Just lost her life. That's not the top story in Minneapolis. Sorry, guys. It's just not. It's not expedient. No Democrat can get elected off her death. Al Sharpton can't make a dime off it. So what's the point of talking about it? If it doesn't benefit somebody else, then why even bring it up? Someone said, freedom's not free. Our ancestors, great-grandfathers all fought for it. That's the great battle, right? Freedom versus free stuff. Someone said, disguise yourself as Antifa. I'm good. There's no point. Let God deal with that. God will clean up all that evil. Places like Minneapolis, unfortunately, a city that I used to live, the city that without the crime would probably be a pretty good place to live, has just been conquered territory. When I was there, I saw BLM flags all over. Only a handful of American flags. Anybody who's honest and lived in that city, or if you still live in that city, you know exactly what's happening. You know exactly what's happening. You've watched it get worse year over year. The stats back it up. Your eyes and ears confirm it. You see it every day. You just witnessed it as they're going to gather today to celebrate life. Somebody might have lost their life because they got shot today. Even though they said the gunshot wound is non-life threatening, that's kind of beside the point. Somebody could have lost their life today while they're going to gather tonight to celebrate life in March. Inverted reality. Satan inverts reality, confuses you, wants to convince you he doesn't exist, destroy you with fear, with lies, with hate, weak emotions that will destroy your body, destroy your immune system. And he ultimately wants to drag you to hell, but you don't it doesn't have to be like that. As long as you tell the truth, shame the devil, we might have a chance. Bring some light into this world. Much love and aloha, Mike, says Steve. Thank you. Please, 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 everybody, give this a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs up. Let's get it in front of some more eyeballs. Thank you for sharing. Thank you to people that are new and subscribe, whether you came over from McAllister TV, from Paint the Trump, from Anthony Brian Logan, from Right Side Broadcasting, anybody that discovered me by other means. Thank you. Thank you for being here. God bless all of you. It's a crazy world we're living in. Crazy world when this little girl can't get justice, but George Floyd did get his justice. I'm going to talk about this every day until this little girl's killer is arrested. Anaya Allen, until this 6-year-old angel gets justice, until her family doesn't have to grieve, then what else would I be doing? What else could I be doing? Then talk about it. And she's not the only one. 3 kids. 3. Where's the graphic? Hold on. I'm going to put the graphic up. The other 2 kids, LaDavian Garrett Jr. and Trinity Smith, all under the age of 10, all shot in the head.
The city.
None of their killers arrested. Here we go. Right here. 3 kids shot in the head in Minneapolis. George Floyd got more justice than all 3 of these kids. Just going to repeat that. George Floyd got more justice than these 3 kids right here that were shot in the same city. None of these marchers care. No murals, no signs. They're not going to gather and mourn outside of the family and the people in that community. They're all going to the South Side where there was just a shooting today. to celebrate life at George Floyd Square where the cops aren't allowed in and black people have already been killed there as a result. I know I sound like a broken record, guys, but hey, that's the reality that these wicked, evil people have created. People like Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, people that push the false narratives that black people need to worry about. White police officers killing them. If only she could get a televised funeral and a gold casket burial. Wow. Wow, y'all. Wow. That's all I can say. That is all I can say. Let me stop sharing my screen here, I guess. Appreciate everybody, man. I got to sign off here. I really do. I'll just get a headache. And I know this is a lot of what I talk about is sad. It's depressing. But hey, until something changes, this is what I feel like needs to be discussed. This is what goes under the radar. This is what gets under discussed. Nobody really talks about it. They'll talk about the criminals, the people that break the law, the people that are on drugs, and they want me to see myself in them. And the richest, most successful black people in the world live right here in the United States of America. But they're telling everyone that they're victims and that no matter what you do, you are going to be a victim of racism in America. Maxine Waters will say, America gets more racist by the day. Maxine Waters' own words on camera. America gets more racist by the day. Thank you guys for tuning in. I feel compelled to keep talking because I got 300 people watching, but I've said everything I need to say. I want to keep it short so that, you know, people that missed the stream can go back and rewatch it. So I'm going to wrap it up, but the truth is stranger than fiction. I'm going to keep telling the truth unapologetically, shamelessly, because it's the right thing to do. And until something changes, that's the only thing I'm going to do. God bless you guys. I'll catch you in the next